Hello and welcome. Tonight, the president raises hope of the country gaining additional maritime territory, says he is eager to break the news to Nigerians once approved by the United Nations. Tempo of political activities on the rise as PDP presidential aspirants, former Anambra State Governor Peter Obi and Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike continue their nationwide tour to woo delegates. At least 23 people reported killed in some communities by persons suspected to be herdsmen.
News from London. The UK warns Russia that all options are on the table after reports of a chemical weapons attack in Ukraine.
And on business news tonight, World Trade Organization cuts 2022 global trade volume growth forecast from 4.7% to 3% due to combined impacts of Russia-Ukraine war and COVID-19.
And from Abuja, federal government moves to tackle passport racketeering by dubious immigration officers, says issuance of the travel document will be fully digitized before the end of 2022.
And if everything works according to plan, Nigeria may soon be gaining additional maritime territory with approval by the United Nations Commission on the limits of the continental shelf. And that comes with some excitement for President Muhammadu Buhari, who says he's eager to break that news to Nigerians. The president was speaking after having an audience with members of the high-powered Presidential Committee on Nigeria's Extended Continental Shelf Project, chaired by the Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami.
I have always had sufficient interest in the project right from the first day I heard of it, because this type of project where Nigeria will gain additional territory without conflict has never happened before in our lifetime. I am therefore glad that it is happening within our lifetimes. This is one of the many reasons why I have been ardently following your progress over time. It is my intention to support the submission to the United Nations for additional maritime area in accordance with the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, to claim for Nigeria every bit of space that she deserves under United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. It is pleasing to know that most wars that have taken place in the world since time immemorial, including present times, have always been territorial, and Nigeria has this one and only chance to gain territory without litigation or purchase. More so, when this territory lies within the area dubbed as the Golden Triangle in the Gulf of Guinea, which contains unquantifiable resources, some of which have not even been discovered.
Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari. And now to politics, where former governor of Anambra State, Mr. Peter Obi, is moving on with his presidential ambition with more consultations. The presidential aspirant today met with leaders of his party, the People's Democratic Party, at the home of the National Vice Chairman of the party, Chief Bode George, in Lagos, to solicit their support ahead of the primaries. Mr. Obi made reference to his achievements in the various positions he served, both in public and private sectors, as good antecedents that qualify him to salvage the country from decay and collapse. Expressing confidence in the ability of the presidential aspirant, Chief Bode George said the party owes the public the affirmation that the presidential ticket is zoned to the south. He says anything else would be chaotic.
I came here to be able to consult, dialogue as a family member in the PDP. And most importantly, to continue to explain to people on the dire need to ensure that we don't make a mistake in 2023 is to ensure that the candidate with capacity, competence, and commitment to change the trajectory of Nigeria is elected in the primaries as the candidate of the party. This country is going through a very difficult path, and we must not allow it to continue. Otherwise, all of us will pay for the consequences.
From 1999, it is the tradition, the culture of the party to announce where the presidency is zoned to. But to be quiet now, what do you think, what kind of message are we sending to the electorate? Now, have we gone asleep? Remember, when APC came, they said, we don't believe in APC, we don't believe in zoning. Who has done all their zoning now? It will become a national campaign issue. We started, I said it was a gift from the founding fathers of this country, of our party, to this nation. Now it is going around. But for us to be quiet means there is something that is not right. We were noted for that culture, and we must retain and sustain that culture.
And staying with more consultations, this time the governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, has been speaking about the strategy he intends to adopt to solve the mirage of problems bedeviling the country. According to Governor Wike, who was in Owerri, the Imo State capital, to continue his consultation with critical stakeholders of the People's Democratic Party in the state, he says harnessing the potentials inherent in Nigerians and assigning responsibilities to capable persons is one of the ways to get Nigeria working again. Welcoming the governor to the state, chairman of the PDP, Mr. Charles Ugu, describes him as one who has the ability to lead Nigeria out of the woods.
You are very direct. You are very outspoken. You are not shy to define what you believe. So on behalf of Imo State PDP, I welcome you and urge you to take the platform and tell us the future, the new vision, your idea of salvation for Nigeria.
Nigeria is full of talent. Nigeria is full of people who are very intelligent. What is the problem of this country today is what? Leadership. A leader that has the ability to coordinate and organize the best of brains to make this country to move forward. If you elect me, if you give me the mandate of the party, which I know I will win the election in 2023, I will be charged as the president and commander-in-chief of armed forces.
Over in Enugu State, Governor Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi has thrown his weight behind the consensus arrangement by some members of the People's Democratic Party. He sees it as relevant in the interest of justice and fairness. He was speaking when he received 4 presidential aspirants from the northern part of the country.
I'd like to say this. I welcome consensus based on justice, equity, and fairness. Thank you, and God bless.
Meanwhile, the Vice President is seeking the support of the senators from the All Progressives Congress as he joins the race to get the party's presidential ticket to run for president come 2023. The President of Senate, Ahmed Lawan, while speaking to State House correspondents after the senators were hosted to iftar at the Vice President's Daguda House residence at the State House, he stated that the conversation with the Vice President was cordial.
It was a very good dinner, and thereafter we had a brief interaction on our government and, of course, on the Vice President's declaration to run for the presidency of our great country, the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Naturally, the Vice President will tell us that he has expressed his interest and that he wants to consult with the caucus, the Senate APC caucus. He wanted us to hear from his mouth, and that we did. And he was seeking our support in whatever way we can at the appropriate time. And we wish the Vice President, His Excellency, good luck in this endeavor. But let me assure everyone that the Senate APC caucus and indeed the National Assembly caucus of the APC will continue to work very hard for our great party, the APC, to continue to provide services for Nigerians and also work hard to ensure that by 2023, the next administration is an APC administration at the center, and majority of the states in our country, by the grace of God, will be APC.
And earlier at the National Assembly today, 2 federal lawmakers resigned from the Senate over their new positions as APC National Chairman and Deputy National Chairman North. The new APC Chairman, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, and his colleague, Senator Abubakar Kyari, who is the party's Deputy National Chairman, forwarded their resignation letters to the President of Senate, Ahmed Lawan. Senator Lawan read their letters during Tuesday's plenary session.
Your Excellency, letter of resignation from the 9th Senate. I would utmost respect and appreciation informing you that consequent upon my victory as National Chairman at the just concluded convention of our great party, the All Progressives Congress APC, on the 26th of March 2022, I hereby formally resign as a Senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, representing Nasarawa West Senatorial District with effect from 1st April 2022. Distinguished Senator Abubakar Kyari, Chairman, Senate Committee on Federal Capital Territory, representing Borno Senatorial District. Your Excellency, letter of resignation. I'm writing formally to inform Your Excellency of my resignation from the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as the Senator representing Borno Senatorial District. This is as a result of my victory at the convention of our party, the All Progressives Congress APC, on the 26th of March 2022, where I emerged as the Deputy National Chairman North.
In part 2, after the break, Governor Lalong asked security forces to go after those behind Sunday's attack in communities in Plateau State, which resulted in the death of over 50 people. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. The president raises hope of the country gaining additional maritime territory, says he is eager to break the news to Nigerians once approved by the United Nations. Former Anambra State Governor Peter Obi and River State Governor Nyesom Wike continue their nationwide tour to woo delegates, as Governor Gwanyi of Enugu State says he supports consensus candidate based on justice and equity. At least 23 people reported killed in some communities by persons suspected to be herdsmen. And US and Britain say they are looking into reports that chemical weapons have been used by Russian forces attacking the Ukrainian port of Mariupol. We continue with politics. A former member of the House of Representatives, Mr. Sani Shaban, has officially declared his intention to run for the office of the governor of Kaduna State in the 2023 general elections. Mr. Shaban says he will focus on human and infrastructural development, fight against corruption, and youth empowerment across the state. He is running under the platform of the APC and maintains that he is the best man to succeed Governor Nasir El-Rufai come 2023.
The race to who becomes the next governor of Kaduna State is building up as the All Progressives Congress prepares to conduct its primary election to choose candidates for various positions ahead of the 2023 general elections. And the latest to declare his interest to become the next governor of the state under the platform of the APC is a former member of the House of Representatives, Mr. Sani Shaban. Describing his third attempt to govern Kaduna State as a project whose time has come, Mr. Shaban says his ambition is driven by the passion to serve his people.
I want to play a leading role in transgenerational effort to save the state and improve the lives of our people. I have therefore decided I will, along with other respected leaders of our party, seek nomination as a candidate of APC to contest for the governorship election in 2023. I want to lead a government that will invest in its people, because people constitute the wealth of any society. I want to lead a government that will create a Kaduna for all. Kaduna that is not about North, Kaduna that is not about South. Kaduna that is not for Christian, Kaduna that is not for Muslim, for everybody.
His associates and supporters say they believe in his capacity to lead the state.
Governance is all about people. Governance is all about who is closer to you in terms of all you can think and what you cannot think of. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful, this will be a day to rekindle the hopes of our people.
Shaban is the man of the people. When I talk about the people, I'm talking about the old, the women, the disabled, and the general public. We are here to throw our support to Alhaji Sani Shaban.
Mr. Sani Shaban, who represented Zaria Federal Constituency between 2003 and 2007, says he's quite optimistic of getting the APC's ticket and subsequently winning the governorship election in 2023.
From politics to security in Benue State, where at least 23 persons have been reportedly killed by persons suspected to be herdsmen in Mbadwen and Tioto communities. The Chief Press Secretary to the State Governor, Nathaniel Ikuyo, in a statement explained that 15 persons were killed in Tioto Taka local council area, while 8 others were killed in Mbadwen town of Guma local government area of the state. According to him, many residents were also injured during the attack and are currently receiving treatment at an unnamed hospital. Meanwhile, Governor Samuel Otom has called on security operatives to do more in crime prevention across the state. In a similar development, this time Plateau State, the Governor, Simon Along, has directed security forces to dominate areas where an unspecified number of people, including children, women and the aged, were killed in different communities of Kanam and Wase local government areas of Plateau State on Sunday. Reports indicate that bandits invaded no fewer than 10 villages, which resulted in the death of over 50 persons and several others sustaining injuries, with houses burnt and some other persons still missing. Dead bodies recovered from the scene of attacks were given mass burials in Kanam, while those injured are receiving treatment at different hospitals. Security personnel are combing affected areas in search of missing persons. Meanwhile, the president has described the killings in Kanam and Wase local government areas of Plateau State as heinous, saying the perpetrators should not be allowed to escape justice. In a statement by his senior special assistant on media and publicity, Mr. Garba Shehu, President Muhammadu Buhari says the perpetrators should not be spared or forgiven, just as he orders the law enforcement agencies to work hard with the state government to bring the situation under control and take steps to bring the culprits to justice as quickly as possible. In the words of the president, I urge all our citizens, the people of Plateau State in particular, to expose the perpetrators of such incidents, their sponsors, and those who encourage such criminals who carry out these dastardly acts of murder. President Buhari expressed his condolences over the terrorist incident, saying that as a matter of priority, peace must return at all costs to the state and the entire country. And outside the country, Nigeria's Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Awal Gambo, has been speaking of the need for adequate structures to meaningfully engage the youth in the country and bring down the high level of maritime crime and criminals. The naval chief also believes that security operatives are among those complicit in these crimes and says the Navy is directing a lot of effort to curb the trend. He was speaking with Channels Television South Africa Bureau Chief Betty Dibia in Cape Town, South Africa, where he is on an official visit.
Security officials cut across the armed forces and, of course, other security agencies. Some of us are complicit. Beyond that, even some executives of the NNPC, the political elites, are all involved in this crime. But you see, the issue is that government and the political elites need to enlighten the youths, because illiteracy, poverty, bring about youths being cultivated to go into some of these criminalities. And so therefore government must ensure and deliberately deliver dividends of democracy to some of these riverine communities and even beyond in the hinterlands and all that, so that the youths will not be cultivated to go and commit these maritime crimes. Because the plan for piracy and sea robbery is on land. And so if you motivate the youth on the land with fruitful ventures, opportunities to have some artisan ability to be able to fend for him or herself, they will not be cultivated by criminal elements to go and partake in the illegal harvest of our common patrimony, which is the hydrocarbon. Because the oil and gas industry takes care of 85% of our GDP, which is used for the development and the economic prosperity of the country.
And from Cape Town to the nation's capital, Abuja, where Linda Kigbe brings us some more stories. Hi, Linda.
Hello, Millicent. Now, moving away from security, as part of measures to tackle passport racketeering by dubious immigration officers, the federal government says the process of issuance of a travel document will be fully digitized before the end of 2022. According to the Minister of Interior, Mr. Rauf Aregbesola, Nigerians would also be able to track the progress of the applications for passport online from the comfort of their homes, thereby reducing congestion usually recorded in passport offices. He was speaking in Abuja at the commencement of a two-day capacity-building forum for passport control officers from across the country and foreign offices. Our correspondent, Emperor Simon, reports.
Ensuring a seamless issuance of international passports to Nigerians is one of the reforms the federal government is putting in place, and the Minister of Interior, Mr. Rauf Aregbesola, is the one driving the process. This workshop is therefore organized to bring passport control officers of the Nigeria Immigration Service up to speed with the ongoing passport reforms and promote effective and efficient service delivery.
As of today, the service has been able to clear all backlog of applications in the southwest geopolitical zone. I'm part of the North Central Passport Office issuing enhanced passports. About 80% of backlogs in the southeast have also been cleared, while efforts are on top gear to attain 100% production and issuance of all backlogs.
The Minister of Interior, Mr. Rauf Aregbesola, announces some of the passport reforms by the federal government, including plans to fully digitize the issuance process.
Before this year ends, there will be no file anymore on passports. Passport process will be digitized, absolutely. Not later than a month from today, applicants will be able to track their application, to know precisely what stage is your online.
He also highlights some of the achievements being recorded
between 2019 and now, and yet we recorded an unprecedented passport issuance rate of 3 million passports. Nevertheless, over 250,000 passports are unclaimed by their owners and lying idle on our shelves.
This training is expected to further deepen the capacity of the participants on emerging technologies to meet current realities. The take-home from this capacity-building workshop is that it is no longer business as usual for passport control officers, as the Minister of Interior warns that erring officers will be dealt with in accordance with the law. Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
To the National Assembly once more, where the Senate has received a request from President Buhari to approve adjustments to the 2022 fiscal framework. The request is contained in a letter read by Senate President Ahmad Lawan during Tuesday's plenary session. In the letter, President Buhari explains that an adjustment to the 2022 fiscal framework is imperative because of new developments in the global and domestic economies. It's the first plenary session for the week, and the upper chamber has before it a couple of economic legislation seeking its attention. First is a request from President Buhari for the Senate to approve adjustments to the 2022 fiscal framework. According to the president, recent developments globally, namely the spike in the price of crude oil caused by Russia's invasion of Ukraine, require an adjustment to the fiscal framework.
These developments include spikes in the market price of crude oil, aggravated by the Russian-Ukraine war, significantly lower oil production volume due principally to production shut-ins as a result of massive theft of crude oil between the production platforms and the terminals.
President Buhari further explains in the letter that his administration's decision to suspend the removal of petrol subsidies has huge implications on the country's revenue.
The adjustments to the 2022 fiscal framework include an increase in the estimated provision for PMA subsidy for 2022 by 3.557 trillion naira from 442.72 billion naira to 4 trillion naira.
Meanwhile, the Senate is proposing a bill to regulate the franchising of businesses in the country. The proposed legislation is expected to promote the growth of franchising through the adoption of international best practices to balance the interests of the concerned parties.
As part of our efforts to enhance economic development of our great nation, I hereby propose the passage of this franchise bill, which basically seeks to create a framework for the regulation of franchising and to guide the relationship between franchisors and franchisees and for related matters.
The upper chamber also passes the Nigerian Peace Corps Establishment Bill, which seeks to give legal backing to the organization to serve as a neighborhood watch and provide employment for youths in the country. Still ahead on the news at 10, World Trade Organization cuts 2022 global trade growth forecast to 3% on combined impacts of Russia-Ukraine war and COVID-19. That's on Business News. Join us again. You're welcome back to the news at 10, coming to you live from Abuja. The House of Representatives has passed through second reading a bill to regulate the activities of orphanages in the Federal Capital Territory. Lawmakers say the bill will address the menace of sale of babies. The House is also to investigate alleged disappearance of transit buses provided by the federal government to ease transportation within the FCT. Our correspondent Terry Kumi has details of these and more from today's proceedings in the lower chamber.
It's the commencement of a new legislative week in the House of Representatives. Despite a near-empty chamber, plenary gets underway as the House turns its attention to the Federal Capital Territory. First, it considers and passes through second reading a bill to regulate the activities of orphanages, following reports and concerns about the sale of babies.
I move that the bill on our House to establish the Federal Capital Territory Orphanage Registration and Regulatory Agency to regulate the establishment and administration of orphanages and other related institutions in the Federal Capital Territory of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and for related matters now be read the second time.
We've had over the years where people open up a place and they say they are doing orphanages only for them to recruit our young girls from school and kidnap them, so to speak, in quote, and house them in those homes and allow them to get pregnant, and then they start selling those babies. And I believe that this bill, when it's passed, is going to curb this menace.
Meanwhile, lawmakers want the federal government to conduct a study on effective penalties for failure to register births and deaths. The Green Chamber also adopts a motion to investigate the status of the 10,000 transit buses provided by the FCT administration since 2003, which lawmakers say are disappearing from the roads and are not being effectively managed.
Citizens who are denied these services are daily faced with the risk of riding in commercial vehicles operated by kidnappers, armed robbers, and bandits. Cognizant of the need to recover the buses and make them operational to serve the core objectives for which they are provided.
The House then passes the Customs and Excise Management Act Repeal and Enactment Bill for the first time in 63 years.
A review of this act seeks to reposition Nigeria Customs Service with modern reality, full automation of Nigeria Customs Service with modern reality to facilitate trade, improve revenue generation, and more importantly, expose illegal importation of arms and ammunition into the country.
The 2022 budget of the Nigeria Customs is also passed at 369 billion naira. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
That's all from Abuja. Back to you, Millicent.
Thanks, Linda. Here in Lagos, we return to more politics. The grandson of the First Republic Minister of Finance, Festus Okotie-Eboh, Tola Emmanuel Awoshika, has declared to run for the Senate in 2023 to represent Ondo's Central Senatorial District under the platform of the All Progressives Congress. Mr. Awoshika made his declaration at the Secretariat of the All Progressives Congress, APC, in Ondo State, headquarters of Ondo West local government area of the state. The aspirant says he intends to focus on education, youth empowerment, infrastructure, and healthcare.
My decision to come into mainstream politics is driven by passion and drive to change the narrative in our country, to move Nigeria forward. Nigeria has great potential, filled with great resources, human resources, mineral resources that have largely been underutilized over the years. It is time for us to stand up and go into the positions that can help us eradicate poverty, that can help give our youth employment, that can help develop our society, that can help boost our economy, and this is my plan for going into office.
Away from politics, just days to April the 15th, when the Lekki tolling is expected to begin. The chairman of the Lekki Residents Association is asking the Lagos State government to take into consideration some of their demands in order to allay their concerns. According to the chairman of the Lekki Residents Association, Yomi Idowu, the demands, which includes a shift in the tolling commencement dates as well as the tolling procedures, have already been made clear in a meeting with the state governor and the representative of the Lekki Construction Company.
Our demands are not a big deal at all. What are we asking for? we let them realize that, look, if you are stolen by force, consider people living here. Somebody will go out in the day, drop the kids in the school, then will come back, that's one trip, 800 naira. The madam or the husband will go to work. At work, go and pick the children from school, take them home, that's another 1,200 naira. In fact, in a day, a family will pay about 3,000–4,000 naira on tolling. So we asked them, because we are here, give us that privilege of having only one day pass. That means we go one and come back two, we are paying. Anything we do after that, it should be no charge. So that the economy is bad. So that people will now understand, okay, this is good. Secondly, you see, half of the population wants no tolling at all, the youths. The second one is these kids that said no tolling at all. Our second demand answers that. I said no tolling weekends. 2 days weekends, no tolling. Thirdly, let the government move the date of 15th of April. Let them move it up. Let them move it down to, until we can agree. So that we also cool the temper.
Into some company news now, where beer brand Heineken has brought Dutch football legend Clarence Seedorf and the Uefa Champions League trophy to Nigeria. The season's campaign, titled Cheers to All Fans, highlights the inclusive nature of the game of football.
The Heineken Uefa Champions League trophy, with Ambassador Clarence Seedorf, makes its first stop at the office of the competition broadcast rights owners SuperSport at Ilupeju in Lagos.
We don't need to stay over there. They've never won the Champions League.
The trophy then moves to the corporate headquarters of Nigeria Breweries PLC, where the company's top executives field the silverware of the world's most glamorous club competition, along with Seedorf and Nigerian football legends Daniel Amokachi and Austin Okocha.
This afternoon, as we take a look at the big old ears, absolutely fantastic trophy. Please put your hands together.
At the media parley, the four-time UEFA Champions League winner Seedorf is excited to bring the trophy to Nigeria.
I have this opportunity with this tour to bring this trophy closer to those who would not ever imagine or dream about, being able to be close to the trophy, who any kid on this earth, would dream of to lift one day, like I did when I was younger. So it's beautiful to send that message of, dream big, work hard, stay away from drugs.
Nigeria Breweries PLC says the tour provides football fans with a chance to be in close proximity to the iconic trophy and the heroes of the game.
Heineken is a global beer brand that has expanded close to 200 countries. The UEFA Champions League is one of the most watched competitions, and even though it is based in Europe, it is a global competition as it accommodates nationals from all the continents of the world. This is the thinking behind the UEFA Champions League trophy tour, presented by Heineken, with a clear understanding of the unifying power of football. The tour focuses on the football fans, providing them with better avenues to experience the beloved sport.
The Heineken UEFA Champions League Trophy Tour has reached 31 countries across Africa, Asia, and North and South America.
Well, it's time for some business news. Here's Teniola Shibowale.
Thanks a lot, Melissa, and welcome to Business News. The World Trade Organization has lowered its forecast for global trade growth this year from 4.7% to 3%, largely due to the impact of the Russia-Ukraine war. At the same time, the WTO warned that lockdowns in China to prevent the spread of COVID-19 are disrupting seaborne trade, which could lead to renewed shortages of manufacturing inputs and higher inflation.
The economic reverberations of this conflict will extend far beyond Ukraine's borders. It's now clear that the double whammy of the pandemic and the war has disrupted supply chains, increased inflationary pressures, and lowered expectations for output and trade growth.
The African Development Bank has signed a protocol of agreement with the African Union to boost its effort for the implementation of the bloc's Agenda 2063. A statement issued today by the Multilateral Development Finance Institution mentions that the project will upgrade and automate several AU systems, including information management, procurement, and financial management. Agenda 2063, which was adopted in 2015, is the AU's vision for an integrated, prosperous and peaceful Africa driven by its citizens and representing a dynamic force in the global arena. The Nasarawa state government says the state is reaping the benefits of its economic and development strategy, which has resulted in boosting their internally generated revenue by 20% in the past 2 years. This is according to Governor Abdullahi Sule while speaking to journalists ahead of the State Investment Summit coming up next month.
We came in 2019. By 2020, our revenue had actually grown roughly 20% of our IGR. And when we came in, our IGR was roughly about 7 to 8 billion. By 2021, right now, the latest figure we have is roughly 16 billion. So a lot is going on in order to improve what is happening in the state. So we came up with this document, which will be driven for 2019 to 2023, which led us actually into coming up with the highly respected advisory council. And we're already beginning to see the implementation of these net documents, we call it, NEDS, National Economic Development Strategy.
Time for the stock market now. Ini John Mekwa has the details.
Thank you so much. Welcome to the stock market reports. Well, the value of the bull is very loud today as the NGX surpasses the 47,000 level and the all-share index gains 0.72%. Looks like investors are back on the buying spree as the value of Nigeria's equities market increased by 182 billion naira. However, deals were almost 2% lower than yesterday, but volume and value retained that upward trend that we also saw yesterday. Yesterday, most of the counters were in the green, with banking taking the lead. Today, that counter is still a force to be reckoned with in the positive sentiment that we see splashed all over the market. Zenith Bank and GTCO are major contributors of that. Nigerian breweries also drove the consumer goods counter after it gained 3 naira 15 kobo. So we see that counter is in the green now. And then, unlike yesterday, oil and gas has bounced back. Why not? When Seplat has gained a whooping 25 naira on its share price to close at 985 naira. And then another major driver of the market today was MTN Nigeria. For the second consecutive day, it's gained 2 naira 60 kobo. Don't you just wish you had done some bargain hunting when the times were down? Well, there will be another downtime, and perhaps you can get into the market at that time. That's the stock market report. I'm Ini John Mekwa.
And that's business news tonight. It's back to Millicent.
Banking, so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thanks, Daniola. Britain's Armed Forces Minister says all options are on the table for a Western response if Russia is found to have used chemical weapons in Ukraine. He made the comments as unverified reports alleged that Russian forces might have used chemical weapons in the port city of Mariupol. Here's Simon Pusey with more on this and other international news and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The US and Britain say they are looking into reports that chemical weapons have been used by Russian forces attacking the Ukrainian port city of Mariupol. Ukraine's Azov regiment said 3 soldiers were injured by a poisonous substance in an attack on Monday. The Pentagon called the potential use of the weapons deeply concerning, while the UK Foreign Secretary Liz Truss said officials were working to urgently investigate what she called a callous escalation of the war. Meanwhile, the British Armed Forces Minister said all options would be on the table if there was any use of chemical weapons in Ukraine by Russia.
Verifying it is clearly very important, because if chemical weapons have been used, that is a very important moment for our Prime Minister and other heads of government around the world to consider how we would respond. But as I've said, all options are on the table, and President Putin should be clear that the use of chemical weapons is simply not acceptable.
Meanwhile, Russia's leader, Vladimir Putin, has said his invasion of Ukraine will achieve what he called its noble aims. Speaking alongside Belarusian leader Alexander Lukashenko, Mr. Putin claimed that a clash with Ukraine had become inevitable. Mr. Putin said he had been left with no choice but to launch the invasion in a bid to protect the Russian-speaking Donbass region. The UN says 10 million people have fled their homes since the invasion began. At least 25 people have died so far in landslides and floods in the Philippines after tropical storm Meggy swept the nation. Meggy, known locally as Agaton, hit the archipelago on Sunday with winds of up to 65 kilometers per hour. Heavy rain and winds knocked out power supply, flooded homes and fields, and caused mudslides in villages. It is the first such storm of the year. Nearly 140,000 people have been affected by the storm, with more than 13,000 fleeing to higher ground. Footage from the Philippine Coast Guard showed residents being evacuated from their homes. The National Disaster Agency says around 17,000 people are now staying at evacuation centres. The UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson and the Chancellor Rishi Sunak have both been fined by police for their role in parties in Downing Street over lockdown. It heaps yet more pressure on the Prime Minister, who had already been criticised for attending events that didn't abide by the rules the government itself had made. Police have issued at least 30 more fines for breaches of lockdown regulations at gatherings in Whitehall and Downing Street. This comes on top of the 20 fines sent out last month. The former Conservative French President Nicolas Sarkozy has endorsed Emmanuel Macron ahead of the second round in France's presidential election. Sarkozy had not backed any candidate, including the one from his own Les Républicains party, during the first round campaign. On social media, he said, "I think he has the necessary experience as we face a deep international crisis." It comes the same day Macron met hospital workers in the eastern French city of Mulhouse in an attempt to win over working class voters. The second round of voting will take place on April the 24th. Meanwhile, his opponent, Marine Le Pen, has faced criticism after she said she didn't support oil and gas sanctions against Russia. In an interview with France Inter Radio, she said while she did broadly support sanctions, she didn't want French people to suffer the consequences of sanctions on oil and gas. The far-right politician has since been accused of being too close to Russia amid the war in Ukraine. Indonesia's parliament has passed a long-awaited bill to tackle sexual violence aimed at providing a legal framework for victims to secure justice. A majority of lawmakers backed the bill at the plenary session in parliament, overcoming opposition from some conservative groups in the world's biggest Muslim-majority country. Until now, sexual abuse had often been regarded as a private matter. The law comes after 6 years of deliberation on the topic. And North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has attended a ceremony for a major housing project in the capital city, Pyongyang. In footage aired by state broadcaster KRT, Kim was seen cutting a ribbon to celebrate the completion of newly built buildings. North Korean media said the event was to mark the completion of 10,000 apartments and an 80-story skyscraper. The event took place as the country marked 10 years since the younger Kim was elected as the top party and state leader. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.
Thanks, Simon. Now time for some sports news. Here's Victor Mathias.
Thank you, Millicent, and welcome to Sports News. Villarreal dumped Bayern Munich out of the Uefa Champions League to reach the semi-final of this year's competition. Nigeria's Samuel Chukwueze's 88th minute strike at the Allianz Arena gave the Spaniards a 1-1 draw in the second leg of their quarter-final tie that took them through 2-1 on aggregate. Elsewhere, Real Madrid also advanced to the last four despite losing 3-2 to Chelsea at the Santiago Bernabeu, but qualified 5-4 on aggregate. Karim Benzema's goal in extra time ensured victory for Carlo Ancelotti's men. Now, former FIFA President Sepp Blatter and former Uefa President Michel Platini will go on trial in Switzerland in June to face corruption charges. Swiss prosecutors say Blatter unlawfully arranged a transfer of 2 million Swiss francs to Platini in 2011. Blatter and Platini, who were indicted in November, have both previously denied any wrongdoing. If found guilty, they could receive prison sentences or fines. Well, it is on that note that we wrap it up on Sports News on the news at 10. It's back to Millicent with the wrap. I'm Victor Matthias. Thank you for watching.
Thanks, Victor. And the main news again. President Muhammadu Buhari today raised the hope of the country on the prospect of gaining additional maritime territory. He said he was eager to break the news to Nigerians once the deal was approved by the United Nations. Also today, the former governor of Anambra State, Mr. Peter Obi, and River State Governor Nyesom Wike continued their nationwide tour to woo delegates ahead of the party primary election, just as Governor Gwanyi of Enugu State said he would support a consensus arrangement provided it is based on justice and equity. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. Have a good night and stay safe.